TMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Ever notice how wine enthusiasts often speak a completely different language? And while that language may technically be English, to most people it's anything but. Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor, where we stock over 8,000 varieties of wine and speak many dialects of wine English to help everyone, from the wine novice to the master sommelier. So if you need an expert recommendation for wine, or maybe you know what you want and simply need help locating it, our experienced staff has got your back. No matter the budget, occasion, or your level of wine expertise, Discount Liquor will make you feel at home. Discount Liquor, unmatched selection, everyday low prices, a helpful staff, and 2 convenient locations. In Milwaukee on 51st in Oklahoma, and in downtown Waukesha on Barstow in Maine.
Discount Liquor.
Ben Brust here. Catch Scalzo and Brust weekdays 4 to 6 on 94.5 ESPN, WKTI and WKTI HD, Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
For your sports talk fix every day from 4 to 6, it's Scalzo and Brust. For your sports talk fix every day from 4 to 6, it's Scalzo and Brust. For your sports talk fix every day from 4 to 6, it's Scalzo and Brust. For your sports talk fix every day from 4 to 6, it's Scalzo and Brust.
Live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studios at the Avenue.
It's a party, baby.
This is Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
It's a party, baby.
On 94.5 ESPN and Wisconsin On Demand.
It's a party, baby. Woo! It's a party, baby.
Happy Monday! Welcome to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. He is Benjamin J. Brust. I'm Greg Scalzo. Josh and DiMaggio running the show. You, the Scalzo and Brust family, calling, texting 800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776. A big happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Shout out Brenda, the official and unofficial mother of the Scalzo and Brust family. Did you take care of her on Sunday, Joshy?
It wasn't Sunday, it was Saturday, but we had a nice dinner, spent some time together, gave her a nice little gift, moved on.
Nice.
Solid day at the office.
Doesn't sound like, you went the whole 9. I mean, I guess I probably should have done something for her. She sent me at least $80 of Venmos each year.
She did mention how her other 2 sons were derelict in their duties this Mother's Day, but she said maybe they'll get it next year.
Wow.
That is a stinger to start the show.
I don't think I should be lumped in here. I famously don't text people.
Whoa.
And
this isn't taking, ownership here. This is a lot of excuse making.
I literally opened the show highlighting Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and called out one particular mother. It wasn't my own and it wasn't my wife. It was Brenda. So I feel like no matter what, I am
maybe you
back
should
in the good
reconsider the
graces.
order in which you did that.
I talked to my mother yesterday. Obviously, I talked to my wife, although I think I'm at that place heading into next year for Mother's Day where, like, the best Mother's Day gift I can give to my wife is to get me and the kid out. Like this year, I was like, oh, me and the kid, I'm going to do a nice breakfast and brunch, and we'll hang out, and we'll do fun family stuff, and the kid just didn't cooperate. Rough Sunday, just constantly hanging on to mom. I was all prepared to. I stayed up late on Saturday night, so everything was set to go on Sunday, and next year I'm just going to be like, yeah, we're going to leave here for 6 hours and do whatever you want. Yeah. But Joshy, meanwhile, was mixing it up over the weekend, and not just as it was pertaining to Mother's Day, but Josh, I saw you engaging in a Twitter battle with Nagler, Alex Nagler from Adam Nagler from Cheesehead TV, and you were going at one of your biggest pain points, which I found utterly hilarious. You guys going back and forth about the Packers fans who have lived through the 70s and 80s. And I'm going to set this up, but you tell me where I'm speaking out of turn. The Packers are looking into a world of the unknown. And for the last 30 years, save for parts of 2008, probably, when some fans still didn't understand how great Aaron Rodgers was, every season you went in knowing that you were a contender because you had a Hall of Fame level, MVP level quarterback under center. Prior to Brett Favre, the Green Bay Packers didn't have that, particularly in the 70s and 80s. And as we look into the future, at a Packers future that is a little bit cloudy and a little bit murky, depending on how good Jordan Love is, it's created a lot of conversation about what it would mean for the Packers and their fans in particular if this team were to be below average or, dare I say, bad for an extended period of time, something that hasn't occurred since the pre-Favre era. Now, there's a whole lot of fans, you included, Joshy, me and Ben, right? We're in our mid-30s, and or at least Joshy and I are. I'm not trying to age you, Benny.
No, I would have been happy to be part of the
That's fine.
mid-30s
I didn't want you to. I didn't want you.
It's okay.
And
we don't know your touch points.
And
a lot of them.
You know, and so it's not just like 18-year-olds who don't it's people into their mid-30s who haven't seen a Packers team that feels hopeless for years on out. Folks who lived through the 70s and 80s had that reality. And there's a little bit of a generational battle going on amongst Packers Nation between those who lived through the 70s and 80s and those who never have. And Josh views the olds, as you like to call them, those who did live through the 70s and 80s, in one way, whereas those folks look at the Josh DiMaggios and the Youngs and say, you guys don't understand. So I want to dive in here because I think it's interesting to ask, like, those Packers fans who lived through the 70s and 80s, do they provide a better, more 360 spectrum perspective of fandom than those fans who have never had to experience misery when rooting for their favorite football team?
I mean, I think this is a very easy answer. I mean, Josh is in the wrong here. Josh is a spoiled Packer fan who gets his butt wiped, right? Like he's like what I do to myself. He gets the nice wipes and it's nice and clean. You got a bidet, like you're nice and clean, you're nice and spoiled, everything's perfect for you. While everyone else who lived through the 70s and 80s, that you're just dismissing the emotion that they went through. You know how easy it is when a team's bad to jump ship? Nobody jumps ship. The Green Bay Packers have a strong foundation of fans because of the rich history, because even when they were bad, that G meant something to them. And I think it's admirable, if you're going to ask me, because everyone's wishy-washy nowadays. And so the emotion that they had carries weight into the success that they were able to have in the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s. And I think it's actually just quite rude for Josh to just dismiss people who care about a sport, made it kind of their religion, God, family, football, right? Vince Lombardi, that's what we go by here in the state of Wisconsin. And Josh is like, no, it doesn't matter. You guys don't know more than me, and I just think it's a bad way to go about business, Josh.
Now, real quick, and I'll turn the mic over to you, Joshy, so you can get your opinion in there instead of us talking about your opinion.
Yeah, thanks.
Nagler had tweeted out, back in the day, we lived through the below and never we lived through the below, which is basically showing the 80s year by year, record by record. Never wavered in our devotion to the Packers. I interact with younger fans today who think watching their favorite team win, quote, only 2 Super Bowls is disappointing. You don't know pain, kids. Josh responded with a gift that said boring. That was responded to with a gift that said, the truth hurts, doesn't it? And then you said,
was that from Alan?
It's a recycled take. carries no stated value other than I'm older than you. It's dismissive and an attempt to devalue opinions different than your own with no merit. It provides nothing. So that was the exchange on Twitter that made me say, ooh, I feel like we should be talking about this because I think this is something that is going to continue to persist and has had its ugly head rear over these past will he retire, will he leave, or won't he conversations throughout the end of Aaron Rodgers' career as a Packer. So Ben Brust is on Team Nagler.
Team Olds.
Team Olds. Josh DiMaggio, explain yourself.
Yeah, this is something I've been fighting now on this show for probably the past 3 years consistently. At some rate, sometimes it gets worse than other times. My issue with the statement regarding you don't know what it was like to live in the 70s and 80s is, as I said in that tweet, it provides no real insight. There isn't actually an opinion by it, and it often gets used in a way to dismiss somebody you disagree with without providing any reason to disagree with them. You know how your parents, when you would ask them, can I do this? And they would respond, no. You'd say, why? And they said, because I said so. That is the same object going on here. I'm not a baby. I'm 34 years old. I understand what it means to win and lose and to suck. I understand all those things. I've watched many teams.
But you have experience.
20 years of suck.
I'm fans of other teams other than the Green Bay Packers.
Who's the team you care about the most?
It's the Packers. But that doesn't take away anything from what I'm saying. I'm not saying it didn't suck to watch those teams. What I'm saying is it doesn't make you a better fan than me, and it doesn't make you smarter than me when it comes to opinions regarding modern-day football.
So smarter, maybe no, but is there wisdom in those years? Is there wisdom in having gone through an experience that you have yet to go through with your favorite football team?
It's almost like those people keep saying that because they want to go back to those times and they want to complain. They want to be mad at their football team because why do we keep hearkening back to an era of times where it sucked so much? And why is it such a badge of pride? Because guess what? We know what the ratings were for those 70s and 80s football teams. People weren't watching the Packers. People weren't showing up. That wasn't a reality. It's a thing that people are using now as this thing they've heard repeated generations.
So you're saying that Nagler is wrong and that actually fans back then didn't persist through. I mean, the waiting list certainly wasn't as long as it is now. And they were like any other fan base in football. And when the team is bad, there's less interest. And when the team is good, there's more. So you're saying the Packers are akin to any other fan base in the NFL.
It's much like what you guys always mentioned, the David Gilreath return game, and how everybody in Madison was there for that game and saw it.
I was on the field.
Somehow there was
I see, the thing is, I actually could have been there, and I was outside the stadium walking in as it happened.
Oh, see, I actually was on the field.
No, I know.
I was working for the Ohio State radio network at the time.
Yeah.
Made $75. How about that?
We were introduced as a basketball team on the field. I wasn't in the stadium for the freaking return.
Somehow Camp Randall had an attendance of 500,000 people for that game. It's one of those things where I don't deny that many of those people watched. A lot of people, especially listening to this, because if you're listening to sports radio, you probably care deeply about the Packers and have cared about them for a long time. But it's just a common retort that gets spit out with no substance. It's, I disagree with you, but I'm not going to give you evidence why. And that's my main issue with it, and it has been for the longest time.
800-990-3776. We don't just want to hear from Joshy on this. We want to hear from you, the Scalzo and Brust family. Again, 800.
Specifically the olds.
990 ESPN. I want to hear the olds or the youngs, but is there a perspective or is there something to learn? As a Packer fan, is there something to learn from those fans who endured the 70s and 80s that hasn't been learned by those fans who haven't? 800-990-3776. Again, 800-990-ESPN. The Scalzo and Brust family in awe of Ben's ability to bring it right back to your butt. And Ryan McGuanago saying, why didn't Ben finish the metaphor but the bidet and fancy wipes? Hilsey saying, of course, Ben brings it right back to his ass.
I mean, as soon as hey, can I get a pat on the back for getting away from it? I was like, hey, how did you get here? Get out of here fast.
Pat on the back to you. And Sean in Watertown, Josh, he says, only babies say they're not babies. It's a good line.
The other thing I wanted to add to this is I'm totally receptive to being provided some reason I might be missing. But the thing is, every single time I've heard this, we take a lot of callers, and a lot of them have said this. The total thesis of what they're saying is, it's just different, man, or you don't get it, man.
It's one of those things where, like, a Packers fan who was born when we were born, a Packers fan who's 30 years old, 34 years old, 35 years old, was born into a privilege and has privilege that those fans who were born in 1960 never got to enjoy, or
Josh
1970 never got to enjoy.
Right now. Can't you hear it? I can hear it. He's speaking like he's above all the 70s and 80s.
I don't know if he's speaking like he's above the 70s or 80s, but I don't think he believes he can learn from the 70s or 80s, and that merely knowing what it was like is the same as having experienced it. 800-990-3776, 800-990-ESPN. We'll continue to explore this, talking with you, the Scalzo and Brust family. Next, Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
Craziness of Ben Brust. I apologize for even being the slightest bit surprised. I should be beyond that.
Scalzo and Brust, available anywhere you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
We've got westbound 94 slowing down just a bit from about 20th Street through the Stadium interchange. So be careful with that. Give yourself a little bit of extra time. Right now, downtown to the zoo is up to about a 9-minute ride. We've also got some delays along southbound 41, starting at Appleton Avenue down past Capitol. The northbound side slowing down from Wisconsin Avenue all the way up past Swan Boulevard. Traffic is brought to you by Evans Transportation in Brookfield, where they provide customized logistics solutions to keep you and your business moving forward. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, mainly clear, a low of 53. And tomorrow, mostly sunny and warm, a slight chance of showers in the evening, a high of 78, turning much cooler in the afternoon. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
RJ Schinner has several Toshiba copier printers from James Imaging Systems. IT Manager Gabe Colasari.
The reason why for James Imaging is their responsiveness, dedication, knowledge of the product, and they always make sure that the customer is taken care of.
The kind of customer service you'd expect from a 100% Wisconsin-owned and managed office technology company like James Imaging Systems.
We actually have a high-end printing machine on site, so we produce our own catalogs, so we need the support to handle that.
James Imaging Systems, better document imaging technology, better service.
When we've got a problem, we're able to call in and get it rectified or corrected without any issues.
Gabe, any advice to other local businesses?
Contact James. they'll take care of you.
James Imaging Systems, reliable document imaging technology, extraordinary local service. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local office technology partner.
Gabe Neitzel here on the tee, coming up on Monday live from Erin Hills. Stephen Watson and I going to explain exactly why it is such a special place to us, why we love it, what makes it so special. Plus, with the second major of the year coming, we will preview the PGA all live Monday at Erin Hills. It begins at 6 p.m. right here on 94.5 ESPN.
On the Tee with Gabe and Stephen, presented by Wisconsin Golf Trips. Mondays at 6 on 94.5 ESPN.
Life's better with a home policy from American Family Insurance because you'll feel protected no matter how the wind blows. All so you can keep enjoying the home of your dreams. And our expert agents can help you save up to 23% when you bundle home with auto. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. American Family Insurance. Get a quote? Find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
The only diamond more valuable than colorless
is the diamond that is colorful. Pink, yellow, and blue.
In 2016, Christie's auction house sold a 14-carat blue diamond for $56 million.
That's $4 million a carat.
In 2022, Sotheby's auction house sold an 11-carat pink diamond for $57 million.
That's more than $5 million a carat.
These diamonds were born when the Earth was born.
They come from the heart of the Earth.
But now there are also pink, yellow, and blue diamonds that were born when you were falling in love.
These created diamonds come from the fiery heart of a miniature sun blazing inside a plasma chamber. Hot, hot, hot.
Pink, yellow, and blue.
Your colorful 1-carat wonder awaits you for $12,000 or less.
Your colorful 3/4 carat miracle awaits you for $8,000 or less.
Get them while you can. Welcome to Kessler's.
To find the Kessler's nearest you, visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust on 94.5 ESPN. Presented by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it.
Josh DiMaggio has kicked off a generational battle between, I would say, like, what's the cutoff line? Probably 36, 37? Definitely 40.
Yeah, it's...
What do you mean by the cutoff line? To what era?
So if you endured the 70s and 80s, or at least the 80s, like, at what point are you a fan who never had to experience consistent losing with the Green Bay Packers? Let's say it was 1993 and you had to be 8 years old. So you take that back, you're probably about 1985. So you're probably about, we'll say 37 years old is the cutoff line. Sound like a fair cutoff line? Between pre and post Favre, basically, right? If you grew up and your entire existence as a Packers fan have been Favre and Rodgers, that perspective isn't respected as much by those fans who had to endure the 70s and 80s and the doldrums that existed when the Packers were an afterthought in the NFL, despite their great history. And those folks who endured the 70s and 80s look at a Josh DiMaggio and say, you don't know what it was like. You don't understand. And the Josh DiMaggios look at them and say, yeah, like, we only won 2 Super Bowls these last 30 years. That in itself was a failure. And I do wonder, like, is there something that the youngins, the 37 and under Packer fan can learn from the 37 and older Packer fan? Yes or no? 800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776. Now, there's a whole lot of different offshoots of that. Like, are those new generation of Packers fans, the under 37 Packers fans, prepared for what things could be like if you have 3 straight losing seasons? Like, how are they going to deal with that? And so that's what I want to talk about with you, the Scalzo and Brust family. Let's start with John in Milwaukee. 800-990-3776. Phone lines are open. John, welcome to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. What do you got?
Afternoon, lads. How are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Hey, not too bad. So my perspective is a little weird because I'm an old by your standards. I'm 53, but I didn't move here until 1992. So I've literally never seen the putrid era of the Green Bay Packers. But I would argue that you don't have to have seen that if you're younger, because you've seen the Bucs be god-awful, right? So even though you haven't seen the Packers be, as bad as anybody can imagine, you've seen some pretty awful Bucs years. So I don't think you need to see the Packers absolutely suck to recognize that that's a bad place to be, man.
Yeah.
You got anything?
I don't think you need that.
Thank you for the call, John in Milwaukee. It's a good point. Yeah. And Josh, you raised it earlier. I do think there's a difference between the Bucs, which hasn't primarily, especially during their down years, been at the top of the sports fandom list for the state of Wisconsin. They've certainly ascended to a championship organization with Giannis and everything that's transpired over the last decade.
We're talking about Titletown, though.
And we're talking about the state shutting down for Sundays. We're talking about grandmothers going to pick up a case of Michelob Ultra at the gas station to get ready for Aaron Rodgers and Clay Matthews and AJ Hawk. And we're talking about
starter-level chili on a Sunday.
We're talking about a cultural piece to the state that is different than any other sports team, save for maybe the Badgers in Madison.
Yeah, I mean, when I moved to the state of Wisconsin, I had never seen anything like this. The way when I was in school, the way that everyone would shut down, like literally, the world shuts down here in the state of Wisconsin. Everyone's got their routine, their favorite jersey, their pajamas, their taco dip, their drink, their whatever it is. It's crazy here.
800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776. Let's go to Lucas in West Bend. Lucas, welcome to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
Hey, guys. Happy Monday.
Yo.
Just my take, being firmly in the middle of the youngs, I find the take of you weren't around to just be really dismissive as well. I think that we've all experienced a level of disappointment. You know, we've watched the Rodgers years where he broke the collarbone, and you instantly know that the season is over. So just, I understand it wasn't a sustained poor play, but we've seen bad Packer teams. It's also like them saying that, 80s and 90s basketball was better, even though they completely disregard the fact that guys now in the modern game are better shooters, they're faster, they're more athletic. It's just an old take, and I'm kind of over it.
All right, thank you for the call, Lucas in West Bend. I do think there's some dismissiveness on both sides. I do think
I don't do that.
Your tone really screams it.
This is like when, like, if you grew up with some element of privilege, right, and your parent grew up without that, and they keep telling you about how hard they had it, and you're like, yeah, I get what you mean. You're telling me about it. I understand it. But it's not the same as living it necessarily. 800-990-3776. Brian in South Milwaukee, welcome to Scalzo and Brust. We're presented by Michelob Ultra. What do you got, Brian?
You young or an old?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I would be one of the oldies. The thing I was saying is that, it doesn't make me a better Packer fan. I think what it does is it makes me appreciate the journey that we've been on for the last 30 years, because I know what it was like for 5 straight years to get pounded by the Bears. And, did that irritate the heck out of you when you were in the 80s and in high school and college. And, you always looked at the Cowboys, the Steelers, the early 49ers, and you were like, how can we be like that? And the Packers have been that for 30 years now. So I think it allows me to appreciate the journey better. Should have they won more? Absolutely, they should have been in more Super Bowls. But I appreciate the journey that they were on, and I'd rather be that than being the Bears for the last 30 years.
Brian, as a self-proclaimed old, do you think the youngins are prepared for a sustained lack of winning, if that's what's ahead? Now, we all hope that's not what's ahead, and that we push that off into the future, but do you think that the Josh DiMaggios out there are prepared for what it could feel like to look at your team and say, not only do we not have a chance this year, but we probably don't have a chance to win it all for the next 3 years?
I doubt it, because we haven't had that sustained losing for at least 30 years. So we have not. I mean, there's been a year here, a year there, but then they've been back to above 500 and been in that playoff mix. So I don't think they're quite prepared for it. I mean, it was not fun. I tell you that much. It was not fun as a Packer fan.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank
in
you
South
for the
Milwaukee. Great call. 800-990-3776. 800-990-ESPN to get into the show.
Imagine being a Packer fan like Josh DiMaggio, hating the olds and also hating the last 3 years because he hates the quarterback so much. You couldn't even enjoy the success.
Josh, I'm giving you a chance to respond, not only to Ben, but to the conversation.
I mean, I'm going to dismiss Ben. I just want that out there right away. Ben's takes dismissed, disingenuous, will not be answering to them. I think he had a fair perspective. I just don't understand what value that brings to the conversation, other than you're going to be more angry and old when they suck.
Or just more prepared for it.
Yeah, he's got a great perspective.
I mean, prepared. Tell me what that means, and I'll answer that, but I don't know what that means.
You are not emotionally stable right now.
800-990-3776. We certainly know that he's part of the olds. Ron and the Key, welcome to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. What's up, old Ron?
I literally was only on for like 10 seconds, had it turned on. I called in and I asked Josh, is this because of you? Because it was, because I knew this is because of his, historically bad take on you weren't around, like the distaste for you weren't around. The reason why you don't understand it is because you don't understand it. And what the olds are telling you is it's easy to dismiss it having never gone through it. It's like the person saying, my God, I'm on a dry streak. I haven't in 2 weeks. Talking to somebody, I don't know, maybe he produces a morning show that is like, I haven't in like 4 years. Those are two different things.
Is that real news? Like, have they talked about that, Ron?
They reference stuff like that. I don't know. I'm hoping it's not. I think he's an amazing person.
You can be an amazing person and be in a 4-year dry spell.
Wow. So you're saying,
Ben, what was the Lithuania? What was the Lithuania time?
9-month Lithuanian drought. I'm here for it.
Yep. The Lithuanian drought, Ben.
And that
Brust.
9 months to you, that 9 months, I mean, if you make it about Ben, then Ben gets really interested. But like that 9 months to Ben, that probably felt like, 10-year winter.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for the call, Ron.
Different.
Thank you for the call.
I agree. It's different experiencing it versus simply knowing about it. It's like what Robin Williams said to Matt Damon in the in the brilliant movie Good Will Hunting. Have you seen Good Will Hunting?
You've asked me this 5 times.
Robin Williams is the therapist for Matt Damon, and Matt Damon's character is a genius who's read all these books but hasn't experienced life. And he says, you can't tell me what the Sistine Chapel smells like. He's like, you can read all about it. You can tell me every fact, but you can't tell me what it smells like. You can read all this beautiful poetry, but you don't know what it's like to look into the eyes of a woman who loves you. And he goes into this idea of you can understand logically and intellectually what it might be, but you don't know what it feels like. And that was a much better rendition of Ron and the Keys argument. Let's go to Darren in Sheboygan. Darren, welcome to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. What do you got?
Hi, my name is Darren, and I'm self-proclaimed old.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Darren.
Okay, I have more than that. I was hoping you guys would go, hi, Darren. Anyway. So, yeah, I'm old enough to remember, like, late 70s, early 80s.
Darren.
In that stretch. Wow, better ways than never, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah, I guess, kind of. But, so, point being that the difference, I don't think we're going to be going in an extended streak like that. The difference being that this organization learned from having guys like Forrest Gregg and Bart Starrs, their coach, and all these guys, and I think they're just smarter. I don't think it may not be what it's been where we have a Hall of Fame quarterback, but again, look at some of these other teams that you don't necessarily have to have a stud there to be competitive. But it was night and day difference. Like the downtimes between Super Bowls here are nothing compared to the crap we had to watch like in the 80s, the early 80s before Favre. So. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think we're going to be going there, but it sucks if we do. Trust me. Yeah, no preparation for you guys at all.
You hear that, Josh? Thanks for the call, Darren. 800-990 ESPN, 800-990-3776. Tony and DeForest, welcome to Scalzo and Brust. We're presented by Michelob Ultra. What do you got?
Hey, I'm not self-proclaimed old, although I do feel compelled to have people tell the audience when they were born. So I've actually, 1990, I've been around basically ever since Favre took over, and I've enjoyed nothing but success here, although I don't know if my level of frustration is too much different from a lot of other people that have maybe endured some of those years, just given how close to, like 2014 and whatnot we had gotten. But ultimately, my point I wanted to call in with is, in the time that the Packers have, I guess we could say the last 30 years, my entire lifetime, the rules have since changed in the NFL that I don't, and I think I've heard this point stated before, I just don't think with the amount of work and attention that's given to this, I don't think that they could even try hard enough to, it would be very obvious if they were looking to, go back to the 70s and 80s, as people like to say, but there's free agency that exists. There's just, it's a different business nowadays. I think that's, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that'll stop that.
I get your point, Tony. Thanks for the call, but the Jets haven't been in the playoffs in 12 years, and it's not like they've been trying to miss out on the playoffs. Back to the caller before that, I get the idea that, I don't think the organization's just smarter now. The Cowboys were the premier organization in the game in the 90s, and then you got into the 2000s and they were inept. And that was with the same leadership structure, not even different leadership structure. So I do caution against those who believe that just because there's a green and gold G on the helmet, that means that this team is guaranteed to have success, because that could get you in a little bit of trouble.
Well, and the G was on the helmet when they were winning, with Vince Lombardi, and the sustained success into the 70s and 80s once they were winning wasn't there. So, again, there's going to be ebbs and flows.
If you're on the line, call back or stay right there. We've got Jason Wilde coming up next. We'll talk to him a little bit about this. We'll talk to him about the latest with the Packers, and then we will get back to the generational battle. The olds versus the youngs. The pre-37, the older than 37, the younger than 37. The Favre-Rodgers era that have lived through the 70s and 80s. Who needs to learn from who? But Jason Wilde joins us next. It's Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
Thumbs up or stupid. Yeah, emojis can be hostile, absolutely. Words hurt, emojis can hurt.
Scalzo and Brust, available anywhere you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
Southbound on 41, we are seeing some backups heading down from Silver Spring down past Burleigh, and then it'll be backing up again from National Avenue down and around the Hale interchange to about Forest Home, where there's a disabled vehicle, so heads up with that. Northbound on 41, backing up out of the zoo up past Swan Boulevard. Eastbound 94, you're seeing some delays coming in from 68th Street through the stadium. The westbound side will be tight from 25th Street through the stadium interchange. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast. Tonight, mainly clear, a low of 53. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and warm, a slight chance of a shower in the evening with a high of 78, turning much cooler in the afternoon. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Woo! I am thirsty today. Definitely going to need a cold one. There's the one. This week on Ben's Beer Fridge, I'm joined by Peter Gentry, the owner of One Barrel Brewing Company, one of my favorite brands in Wisconsin. They're local here, and Peter's here to tell us why the commuter beer is one of the best to crush in the summer.
It's a unique beer in that it's an ale, so it's actually got a little more flavor than your typical light beer, but it's great with food, grilling, brats, cheese curds. It's made with 40% wheat malt, which also makes it a little more unique, gives it some sort of breadiness. Best time to drink commuter when you're winding down from a long day at work or getting ready to kick off your weekend. It's just a nice, easy beer, makes that perfect sound out of the can, crack it open, and you're relaxed immediately. Get into your weekend routine, mow the lawn, grill out, watch some sports. That's commuter.
Thanks again to Peter for joining me here. I know I'm ready for some One Barrel beers because remember, folks, summertime, the fridge better be stocked.
Live life to the fullest. You hear that all the time, but it's easier said than done when you're in pain. Hi, it's Tony Smith. QC Kinetics gives people all around Milwaukee back their quality of life by providing much needed relief from chronic joint pain. And not just providing that relief, but doing it in the most non-invasive way possible using regenerative treatments from your body's own natural biologics. Where is your joint pain? In your knees, your hips, shoulders, or back? QC Kinetics concentrates these impactful treatments right at the source of your pain, directly applying healing properties where you need them most. No surgery, no downtime, no steroids or harmful drugs, and patients are raving about the results. What does living life to the fullest look like for you? Being able to exercise, walking your dog, enjoying time with your family? Whatever it is, don't wait one more day. Call QC Kinetics for your complimentary consultation. 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. Call now. 414-285-3474.
Football guy.
Are you cutting me out of the show and talking to Jesse and ignoring me?
Football guy.
We're going to take calls. You're not a fan. This is a fan-related question. This
is be optimistic about the team without cheering for the team.
Coming at it from different views.
Go ahead. You guys have a segment. Go right ahead.
What do you got, Jesse?
Hey, Tausch. Oh, how nice of you to give him airtime.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Weekdays 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN. And available wherever you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
The Club at Lac La Belle is the birthplace of golf in Wisconsin, with a rich history you will feel once you arrive. Experience a round at the Club at Lac La Belle. The redesigned course is open to the public 7 days a week. Schedule your tee time today at clubatlaclabelle.com. This is a golf destination that you will want to play over and over again, and enjoy fine dining and event space after your round. An historic past meets a vibrant future. Go to clubatlaclabelle.com to start your journey.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust on 94.5 ESPN. Missed any of the show? Find us on Wisconsin On Demand wherever you get your podcasts. It's free, it's everywhere, and it's for you.
Don't need drama. I just need one word to get to you. So tell me now, do you want it? 'Cause these dancing feet don't cry to the rhythm they cry for you. And every Saturday night that you ain't keep my tears blue. And these blinding lights, they shine so bright like
Scalzo and Brust presented by Michelob Ultra. Totally worth it if you enjoy it. He's Ben Brust. I'm Greg Scalzo. Joshie DiMaggio. We got our guy Alex G running things at the Everlight Solar ESPN Madison Studios downtown off the Capitol Square. What up, G-Man?
Just vibing.
Just vibing. That's what we like to hear. And we're joined by our friend and teammate, our Packers guy. You hear him every day from 9 to noon across these very stations alongside Packer Hall of Famer Mark Tauscher on Wilde and Tauscher. Read him at The Athletic and, of course, at the Wisconsin State Journal. He is Jason Wilde. Jason, Josh DiMaggio got into the Twitter mud over the weekend. And it's something that he has fought up against for at least the time that he's been on this show, the last few years. Do you think that the younger generation of Packers fan who didn't experience the 70s or 80s can learn something from that Packers fan who had experienced the 70s or 80s? And I ask you this fully knowing that you are not a fan and put yourself in neither camp, but as an observer, do you think that that older generation can teach that younger generation something?
Well, first of all, I was a fan in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I was born in 1972, and the first NFL game.
You're in your 50s?
First Monday night game. Yeah, I'm 51.
He's part of the olds.
Dude, you look great for 50. What do you do?
Thank you. Please save that clip so we can use that at a later date. So here's the problem, and I love Josh, and that's not like a caveat, so now I can clunk him over the head with my opinion, because that's not it. I think, and I don't want to speak for Aaron Nagler or whoever else he's debated on this. I'm not interested in that. I think what it is for me anyway is that, I remember I was 10 years old when they made the playoffs at 5-3-1 during a strike-shortened 82 season.
Gross.
I remember how good Lynn Dickey and James Lofton and Paul Kaufman and John Jefferson were as a offensive group. I remember that they went from like 1978 with Turdell Middleton until Edgar Bennett in like 93 or 94 without a 1,000-yard rusher. So I remember a lot of that era, and I remember a lot of mediocre to bad football. And so I don't think it's a matter of me being able to teach Josh or any other young fan anything. I think it's just a matter of, I do think it's important to keep perspective of just how good it's been. And when the frustration bubbles over about playoff losses, which, again, totally justified to be frustrated with, completely peeing down their leg in Seattle in 14, or wasting finally Rodgers gets a home NFC championship game. Tom Brady throws 3 picks and you still find a way to lose. Like, there's nothing wrong with being disappointed. I think it's more, and frustrated, I think it's more just to understand how much worse things can get. And I think the reason it's coming out now, and I don't think the NFL is the way it was when I was a kid. They have free agency now. You can turn things around faster. But there are teams, even in today's modern NFL, where they wander in the wilderness for a long time. And I'm not just saying you have to be like Detroit Lions bad, where, what were they? Was that 14 they made the playoffs with Stafford, and that's about it in the last, 15, 20 years. I'm not talking Washington Commanders bad with like the worst owner ever. I'm just saying that things can really, really suck. And while I'm not saying you can't be frustrated with success that doesn't lead to the ultimate success of another title, I think it's just good to have perspective. And that's all I would ask of any Packers fan who has come of age during the Favre-Rodgers era, where they didn't have to watch terrible quarterbacking. The one thing that does irritate me is there's a fair number of people who are convinced that Jordan Love, based on 10 snaps against Philly, is going to be really good. And I can't say that. I can't say that he's going to be terrible either. I think we should just be open to the possibility that he will be well short of Rodgers and closer to a Mitchell Trubisky than he will be to an Aaron Rodgers. And if he turns out to be much closer to an Aaron Rodgers, awesome. How lucky are you as a fan? And how lucky am I to cover a team that's going to be competitive year in and year out again? But, you know, there's a lot of bad quarterbacks that get to be starters and do it for 3-4 years for a team, and they never achieve anything close to what we've seen in Green Bay. I think that, for me anyway, I don't want to speak for any other old people, but for me, that is my perspective on it.
Jason, over the next 10 years, based off your observations and how long you were a fan and then a reporter for the Green Bay Packers, what do you think the next 10 years are most likely to be? Wandering in the wilderness, Kings of the North, or suck? You can come up with anything, you know, you kind of want.
Yeah, I think the reality is that there's probably going to be some years where, like, I look at Minnesota last year, right? I mean, they got a new coach. Kirk Cousins was energized. It was really like the 19 Packers when you think about it. But they won, like, literally every close game. They were 11-0 in games decided by one score. And generally speaking in the NFL, your hope is you go 500 in one-score games. And then you win a bunch of other games because you're that good, and then you finish with a, 12-5 record or whatever it might be. I think there's going to be years where things are going to fall into place. Their defense is going to play well. Their quarterback's going to play well enough, and they're going to be in contention. But it all comes down to how good Jordan Love winds up being. I mean, the quarterback position is so vital, and I think that's part of the reason why I get a little exasperated with the younger generations that are so adamant that it doesn't matter if Jordan Love's not a Hall of Famer or anything close to it, because they'll win games, because the Packers always win games, and that's not true. And even with Rodgers, we saw how many times he covered up for bad special teams, bad defenses, all those other things. And so I'll just be eager to see, because that's one of the things that makes for a great quarterback in this league, is that they can effectively cover up your other flaws. I always called Rodgers the great deodorant, because he covered up the other parts of your team that stink. And if Jordan Love is part of the bad odor, then you really got problems. And if he's only good enough to sometimes make up for your other aspects that let you down, or if he's kind of stinky, but your defense and teams and running game are that good that you can survive with a guy who's only meh, then great. But I think the most likely scenario is you're going to be hoping to make the playoffs, and then you're going to win a playoff game in a couple of years, then you're going to lose a divisional round game and whatever else. I just think it's really hard to win Super Bowls, as we saw when you have a great quarterback, and I think it's even harder when you don't have one.
Talking with Jason Wilde here on Scalzo and Brust across ESPN Wisconsin. Jason, the Pro Football Focus crew has the Packers with the 27th best roster in the NFL. The NFL.com folks have them as the 20th on the NFL Power Rankings. It's going to be an interesting season this year. I personally believe the best outcome for this Packers team is to have their record be as bad as possible and still see enough from Jordan Love to think he is a good quarterback and the quarterback of the future. In your mind, what is the best outcome for the Packers this season? Obviously, short of winning the Super Bowl, I'm trying to be realistic here.
Yeah, I certainly don't anticipate them. I don't think they're a playoff team. I do think that there's a chance that the NFC could be bad enough that going into the final 3 weeks of the season, they're very much still in the playoff picture, even if they're like sub 500. They also don't have the hardest schedule in the world. So I guess my best case scenario is that they get to the last week of the season. Because look, were the Lions really any good last year, for example? I mean,
historically bad defense for the beginning of the season. Yeah. Historically bad.
Right. And Jared Goff's not exactly Aaron Rodgers. So, in fact, he was better than Aaron Rodgers statistically last year. Broken thumb being the major factor. I know you and I agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, the reality is that you can be a middling to not very good team and still be in the playoff picture. And if there's that development of not only Love, but my goodness, the 3 wide receivers from last year's draft, the 3 wide receivers from this year's draft, the 2 tight ends from this year's draft, if those guys all have shown meaningful growth to the point of being their arrow is clearly pointing up for 24, then great. And if they somehow weasel their way into the playoffs at 8 and 9 in the 7th spot, even better. But I think there's also a portion of the fan base that I hear from that is very vocal that is convinced that all these young guys are just going to blossom immediately, and that's just hard for me to envision. I mean, I like Christian Watson's potential too. I like Romeo Doubs better than I like Christian Watson. And yet, as much as I think those guys have potential, I think they're going to have a bunch of growing pains in year 2 that are going to be exacerbated by having a first-time starter at quarterback. Because look at all the great wide receivers that have come through here that became great wide receivers with Rodgers as their quarterback or with Favre as their quarterback. And other than really Greg Jennings, none of them were really that good in year 2. Now, these guys will have more opportunities than some of those guys did in their second seasons. But I just think it's really hard to be good as a young skill position player other than running back. I think running back, you can have an impact right away as a young player.
Yep.
But quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, I think they're all at least a year away from you looking at them going, boy, this is a really good group. And maybe that'll happen sooner than I think.
Jason, great stuff. We appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Thanks for accommodating my schedule, fellas. Take care. Be good.
Anytime. You're a lot easier to work with than Taushi on that. So
got that right, brother.
Appreciate that from Jason. Listen to him and Tausch.
Taking out olds again there, Josh.
Weekdays 9 to noon across ESPN Wisconsin. And what Jason was talking about, Eric chimes in on Twitter, says, guys, respectively, can you tell Jason to cut the crap? Homer and Tony too. You can't compare athletes from the 80s to athletes now, as the sport as well as humans continue to evolve and become stronger, faster, and smarter. These guys are ready to go. Hashtag JLove. In one of the hardest, I don't even understand. Like everyone, Eric, is bigger and faster and stronger. It doesn't mean that teams can't be bad.
No. Just the Packers players have evolved.
Did you see Lucas Van Ness? He's huge.
I mean, there's the same amount of games, and there has to be a winner or a loser unless everyone ties.
It's different.
But speaking of winners and losers, you are a winner if you get to enjoy the American Family Championship coming up as PGA Tour champions, including tournament host and Wisconsin native Steve Stricker, coming off a big win over the weekend.
Another major.
At the American Family Insurance Championship. It returns to University Ridge Golf Course in Madison Friday, June 9th through Sunday, June 11th. Happens to be my birthday as well. Pat on the back to me. AmFam Champ Week's also going to include an exciting concert featuring Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line on Friday, June 9th. Proceeds for the whole weekend are going to support the Steve Stricker American Family Insurance Foundation and the American Family Children's Hospital in Madison. Get your tickets today at amfamchampionship.com. That's amfamchampionship.com. AmpFamChampionship.com. Truly one of the great events that we see all summer long.
Still can't believe it didn't smoke a heater with John Daly with the opportunity presenting itself.
No matter if you get that opportunity or not, go to AmpFamChampionship.com to get your tickets. The lineup is always fantastic. The event is second to none, so check it out, AmpFamChampionship.com. The olds versus the youngs. We'll get back to it next. Pre-37, post-37. Who's got to learn from who? Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
You're just setting me up to have to tear Josh down, and I don't like doing that.
Why not? You like tearing me down.
I don't tear anybody down. I'm a guy who likes to build people up.
I wish I felt that way every day when I went home.
Scalzo and Brust, available anywhere you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
Gabe, where do you think our group should be taking our golf trip next year?
Jason, I don't know. Do you have time to figure it all out and get all the reservations made? I certainly don't.
Not really. I mean, I'm so busy. If I only knew somebody to call that might do all the work for us.
Oh, I know about Wisconsin Golf Trips. Their main business is booking groups from around the world to play all the great courses in our state, but they're now doing outbound trips for groups each year to places like Michigan, Minnesota, and Nevada. Plus, Wisconsin Golf Trips is even booking custom packages for Scotland and Ireland.
Oh, wow. Let's hit them up.
WisconsinGolfTrips.com.
Hey, Milwaukee, Ewald Automotive's best used car selection just got better. Now introducing Ewald's best certified used cars. Every vehicle undergoes a comprehensive inspection, includes a free Carfax vehicle history report, a 3-day, 300-mile exchange policy, and even includes an exclusive 1-year limited powertrain warranty. Shop over 400 exclusive certified used cars today. It's just another way we make it easy.
Go to EwaldAuto.com.
From big tailgate parties to cozy dinners for two, the freshest ideas start with a stop at Century Foods.
Now through Wednesday, save on 24-pack 0.5-liter bottles, essential everyday purified drinking water, 2 for $6, limit 4. 12-pack 8-ounce bottles or 6-pack 16.9-ounce bottles, Splash Blast flavored water, 2 for $6. 18 to 80 count box, hefty trash or tall kitchen bag, $7.99. 46 to 48-ounce carton, Blue Bunny ice cream or frozen yogurt, $3.99.
Hey, why'd you throw my glass across the room?
I have to keep practicing.
The vase from Aunt Sophie?
I'm warming up in case I get to take the mound at American Family Field. Read this.
Win the ultimate baseball fan experience at Century Foods?
You either get to throw out the first pitch, hold the finish line for the famous racing sausages, or be on the field during batting practice. My new TV!
Just doing a little batting practice of my own.
The ultimate baseball fan experience from Century Foods. Return the entry form found in the weekly ad to any Century by July 26th.
On Thursday, May 18th, join Sharp Literacy for the 8th annual Unwrapped Milwaukee fundraising event from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at The Gauge. Unwrapped is an evening of community, creativity, and food. Top area chefs will create gourmet appetizer, entree, and dessert bites using McDonald's ingredients. The fundraiser will support Sharp's STEAM-based educational program serving thousands of urban elementary students in 50 Milwaukee, Waukesha, and Racine schools. For tickets, visit sharpliteracy.org.
Even when you think you know what's going on.
Not to be a Richard here, but we just invested in these robots that flip burgers.
You can never be too sure.
I'm sorry, what?
They flip burgers. Yeah.
No. Why? You
Yeah.
know, my biggest fear on this planet is the robot revolution.
Yeah.
Packers, nonsense, chaos.
And here you are. I thought you were my friend.
Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. Mornings 7 to 9 on 94.5 ESPN. And available wherever you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
Earth Justice is a national legal nonprofit defending the environment and people's health. Until justice stands for all, our lawyers will never rest. More at earthjustice.org/neverrest. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
Men's wedding bands made from whiskey barrels and meteorites.
Welcome to Kessler's.
It's Scalzo and Brust on 94.5 ESPN. Presented by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it.
Scalzo and Brust presented by Michelob Ultra. Totally worth it if you enjoy it. 800-990 ESPN, 800-990-3776. The delineation of Packers fans who experienced the 70s and 80s and the losing ways of the green and gold versus those who are under 37. That's the line of demarcation that we drew, who haven't experienced anything other than the consistent success of Favre and Rodgers is real. And it's spectacular. And you didn't get the reference, but you still laughed at the jokes. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I don't know the reference.
Seinfeld. They're real and they're spectacular.
Oh, I get it now.
But
Sick reference, though, bro. Your references are out of control. Everyone knows that.
But there is a real vitriol, I think, between those fans who experienced the 70s and 80s who believe that the fans who haven't don't understand what it's like, and those fans that haven't sort of resenting those fans that have experienced that for continuing to, in Josh's opinion, right, be dismissive of the fact that they haven't gone through that. Josh is the president of the Young's Club, so again, I'm trying not to put words in your mouth, but how else would you like to frame that?
Yeah, I think it's totally fair. I think the way you described it is fair, but the main point of everything that I struggle to deal with when hearing that is, what does it provide other than your perspective is different? It often gets used as my perspective is better because I watched a team lose, not it's simply different. I don't believe it provides any real value to any discussion it gets brought up in, other than I'm trying to dismiss you because I disagree with you and I want to move past that.
Has that just happened to you specifically where you think that that's always the case when it's
brought
up?
There's a lot here. I'll hit on the text line because there's a lot of different.
Bring up the idea that Joshy maybe is only hearing what he wants to hear.
Well, there's so many different perspectives on it, which is why it's hard to limit the conversation to any singular thing. Like Matt from West Bend chimes in with one I haven't heard yet. Says 35 here, perfect age range you put out. Anyway, this is an argument because people love to be right all the time. At all costs. I'm a young who's looking forward to a drought. When you're green, you grow, and when you're ripe, you rot. We've been ripe for too long, and I look forward to being a true fan and getting to root for losers. And in 20 years, when I say the drought years weren't that bad, then the real olds will still dismiss me.
Fascinating, but also an idiot.
I guess.
No, there's no guessing. You don't want to. You don't have to volunteer yourself for a drought for your franchise. Your franchise should be striving to put you in a situation where you're not ever in a drought. Now, I know that's unrealistic, but to prepare yourself for a drought.
But I do wonder, like you go through, right? Every season, every game for a long time was life or death, right? You're competing for divisional position, at least some years, and maybe not as of recent memory, but like every game is meaning something, and every playoffs is a potential for failure and for just humiliation and just getting into a bad place. Imagine going into every year and you're like, hey, maybe if we win five games, that's a success. You're still going to pack Lambeau. You're still going to be drinking all the Michelob Ultra. You're still going to be partying. You're still going to be watching on Sundays. But now all the pressure's off. I do. Maybe people are looking forward to that.
I doubt the majority are. I'm sure there's some sickos like Matt, who want to live through a drought and have the expectations of 4 or 5 games of winning, and that's like, hey, I can smile about this. I've experienced every part of fandom. But the funniest thing about that is he said the super olds still won't accept me.
Ryan in Sheboygan says, I'm 37. Does experience in the Bucks and Brewers from the 90 to early 2000s count for anything? I don't think so, because I think it's such a different cadence in which you engage with those teams. It counts for something. I shouldn't say it doesn't count for anything, but I don't think it's the same. Like the NFL Sunday is something that is incomparable even on those other levels, where like you can go in and out of a Brewers season. You could go in and out of a Bucks season. Not in the way that you experience, I think, a Packers season. Now, Ron in the Key says the Youngs have had far more good Brewers, Bucks, and Badger everything seasons over the last 20 years. So even in the odd singular Packer poor seasons, there was winning elsewhere. Ron also insists it is better. He's experienced X and Y, and we've only experienced X. Ron in the Key says he has better perspective than you, period, Josh.
But I don't need to experience X and Y if X is amazing. Like, who would want to experience Y if Y is bad?
No, he's saying he's better for having experience.
All I got to say is Ron's a better loser than me. I will give him credit for that. The people who do that. The thing is, and the main approach to this is it gets used when people are approaching football and the Packers in a conservative sense. They want to keep things the same way they've always been. And when you do that, you lose how the future of football is happening. So keeping Aaron Rodgers and staying in the same standpoint is not building towards the future. You would just dig yourself into a further hole in the past trying to be Aaron Rodgers from 2014.
You're saying in terms of why the Packers should have moved on.
Right. Okay. Like that's it's the same argument, and it was used in a lot of that. Like, you don't want life without Aaron Rodgers. And it's like, well, life without Aaron Rodgers is going to happen eventually. If I do it now versus doing it in 2 years, it doesn't make any difference. Sucking is going to suck, and I don't need to suck to understand that sucking sucks.
Jonah in Economwalk chimes in and says, yes, older Packers fans have a different perspective, but the way the league works is different. And we've seen the sustained success of one other team, the Patriots, and we want that. Can you blame us? I want to explore that more next because I do wonder if that does change the narrative. 800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776, and the battle between the olds and the youngs of Packers Nation. What do you think? Talk about it next. Back in 2 minutes. Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
A broken down semi stuck in the left shoulder on 894 eastbound, right about at 76th Street, just past Forest Home. So just watch out for the delays. They are stretching all the way back to Greenfield Avenue on the southbound side of the bypass. So heads up with that. Southbound on 41, slowing down from before Hampton Avenue down to Burleigh. Westbound 94 will be heavy, basically from 20th Street all the way through the Stadium interchange. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, mainly clear, a low of 53. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and warm, slight chance of showers in the evening, a high of 78, turning much cooler in the afternoon. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
It's ESPN Wisconsin's Ben Brust for Road America, where vintage racing lives on. Experience the sights, sounds, and smells from motorsport's pioneering age in historic Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Road America's 2023 season offers numerous opportunities to watch vintage race cars take the iconic 4-mile road course. The SVRA Vintage Festival Weekends opens the 2023 season May 19th through the 21st. Get your tickets today at roadamerica.com. Come for the experience, stay for the race. Road America, America's national park of speed.
Kevin Moret here from Mentality Men's Health. Guys, did you know that the stored belly fat reduces your free testosterone? The more the belly grows, the harder it is to drop, mostly because of the decrease in free T. It's a vicious cycle that men are losing, and unfortunately, everyone can see it. Mentality breaks that cycle with semaglutide, an industry-changing weight loss medication that can help you lose up to 15% of your body weight while preserving your testosterone. Join our over 20,000 clients to look and feel the way you deserve. In Milwaukee, go to lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com.
Hey, this is Homer. You're listening to the home of Marquette basketball. 94.5 ESPN is WKTI and WKTI HD Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
For your sports talk fix every day from 4 to 6, it's Scalzo and Brust. For your sports talk fix every day from 4 to 6, it's Scalzo and Brust. For your sports talk fix every day from 4 to 6, it's Scalzo and Brust. For your sports talk fix every day from 4 to 6, it's Scalzo and Brust.
Live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studios at the Avenue.
It's a party, baby.
This is Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
It's a party, baby.
On 94.5 ESPN and Wisconsin On Demand.
It's a party, baby. Woo! It's a party, baby.
Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Oh, it's worth it. And oh, we enjoy it. Ben Brust, Greg Scalzo, Josh DiMaggio, you, the Scalzo and Brust family. 800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776. Our guy Alex G holding things down in Madison. Of course, you, Dodge County. Shout out 1430 ESPN. Beaver Dam, home of the Golden Beavers.
If I may, I do want to send it to Alex G, who's just like, a happy-go-lucky 24-year-old Packer fan. What do you make of the olds versus the youngs in the battle for Green Bay fandom warfare?
So the one thing that really sticks out to me is everyone keeps coming back to the Bucks and how, the Bucks stunk recently and the Brewers have stunk recently, but we're not a basketball or a baseball state really, and I'm not sure if that's more because in my lifetime it's just now that the Bucks have started to be a real good team, and admittedly I am now way more into them because they're good, a fair weather fan maybe, but I don't know if that is going to happen with the Packers. If the Packers become irrelevant for the next 20 years, they're still going to be the team we talk about.
Could be. Was it like that in the 70s or 80s? Because I think in the 80s, the Brewers seemed to capture the state more than the Packers. So it is an interesting question to be had. And I do think that it has a lot to do with perspective, as Jonah and Economwalk said. Older fans, Packer fans have a different perspective. The way the league works is different. We've seen the sustained success of one other team, the Patriots, and we want that. And I do think that, when you're the first person in your family to go to college, right? You've achieved something nobody else in your family has. That in itself is success. Now that next generation strives to go ahead and do one better, right? And to continue to grow that. So when you have a generation of Packer fan who is just trying to get to the playoffs and win the division and beat the Bears, and then finally you do that, then that next generation, who are largely, right, their children, the next generation to follow, it's like, well, that's the given. Now we need to continue to raise the bar and get to a place where we're regularly winning Super Bowls. And so I think that's a big part of this difference between what failure is. And I do think that the New England Patriots have a lot to play, because all of a sudden what it meant is possible to be a dynasty over not 1 but 2 decades completely changed, right? What was possible changed. The game changed. A lot has changed. And I do think that has had quite a bit to do with how all of this manifests itself in the world of Packers Twitter. 800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776.
I mean, it's just so funny because the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls, right? But just play these just 3 hypotheticals out for me right now.
3 hypotheticals? 3? I thought you had something quick before we went to the phones.
You got a week?
All right, get to the phones.
No. What do you got? 3 hypotheticals.
Seattle runs the football. Bostic grabs it, and Kevin King doesn't let Scotty Miller go by him. What do the Packers look like in the realm of their dynasty over the last 30 years?
Well, 2 of them were the same Super Bowl. So the Packers have won more, the Patriots have less. Look, I don't think there's anything that could affect the Patriots. Even if they won 5 instead of 6.
But if it was 5 for the Patriots and 3 for the Packers, now you're in a way different group than you are.
I think a lot of this changes if Aaron Rodgers simply wins 2 Super Bowls. I think people's opinions are a lot different.
Yeah, but hold on. But the opinion, what opinion, though?
I'm saying that
the Packers haven't accomplished enough?
Correct, yes. I think
that is underlying of this entire conversation.
Yeah, I'm not saying it to anything to the argument at hand via olds versus youngs, but in terms of people viewing it as a failure, I think that all change is if Aaron has 2 Lombardi trophies.
We can get back to that conversation on another day. I want to go to Josh in Oregon. Josh, welcome to Scalzo and Brust. We're presented by Michelob Ultra. Olds versus youngs, where do you live?
I'm spot in the middle at 37.
Ooh, I
the
love
Mendoza
this.
line.
So I am all about, I do not want to be like the Pittsburgh Steelers and being mediocre for 10 years. I would much rather have the Packers toss the season out the window, get that USC quarterback, or any quarterback for that matter. And I do not believe in Jordan Love. And this year I just plan on gambling on other teams and doing fantasy football instead of watching the Packers. And then we can have one down season and be right back up. Would be my ideal way of having it go. I know you are all about Jordan Love being good, but the team doing terrible. Well, man, Jordan Love has been on the team, and Jason never says he has any good throws in practices. I just have zero faith in Jordan Love. Zero faith, and I wish we would just throw the season. and have one bad season instead of like 10 mediocre.
But what happens, Josh, if instead of having you have one bad season next year, Jordan Love isn't the guy in this hypothetical, but you end up with the 6th pick in the draft, and now you have 4 or 5 bad, like you're staring down the barrel where you don't know where your team's going to be good again. Are you prepared for that? Are you ready for that?
No, we need to throw the season is what I'm saying.
So he wants enough draft capital to trade up for one of the 2 quarterbacks that everyone's talking about, which is...
But the question, I think, is, like, if the Packers they've had down years. They've had down years with Favre. They've had down years with Rodgers, particularly when Rodgers was hurt, and even last year they missed the playoffs. So you do look at it differently and say, in the 70s and 80s, there really wasn't even hope. And to me, hope is the big crux of all of this. Like, you could be bad next year, but if all of a sudden the team is good enough and the young players are good enough where you have hope moving forward, that's not enduring what you had to endure in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, and look, I want to give another point and another shout out to the 70s and 80s folks, all of you olds out there. I don't know if you just heard Josh. He's like, yeah, I'm a Packer fan. Everything's been great. I don't care about this season. I'm just going to watch fantasy football and gamble on games. Back in the 70s and 80s, they didn't have that. They just had to watch their teams and endure that.
Better
now
fans?
You got all these
you think
fans.
You think that makes them better fans?
I think Josh definitely showed so. Not DiMaggio, but in Oregon.
800-990-3776. And I know we've been getting a lot of Bucks Brewers stuff as well. One of the differences, too, that's hard now, yeah, maybe there was a decade, right? There was a decade of bad Bucks. There was a decade of bad Brewers. Both of them have been really good recently. Like, the Brewers are in an all-time run right now.
For the last 5 postseasons.
The Bucks are in an all-time run right now. And the Packers have been right there over these last couple of years. So you're kind of going from, like, hey, every year you can convince yourself that those 3 teams in particular have a chance to do something special. And if you take it out over the last decade, you could throw Badger football in there. You could throw Badger basketball in there. You could throw a season of Marquette basketball in there last year, too. They won the Big East. We'll give it to them. 800-990-ESPN. Let's go to Chef Ed. Chef Ed might be king of the olds. He was at the Ice Bowl, weren't you, Chef Ed?
Yeah, I went when Dad and my uncle. I was there, but I was only 8, and it was so cold. It wasn't enjoyable for me at all. I hated it. But the 70s and 80s, I grew up every Saturday getting up and watching wrestling on Channel 18 with the Crusher and the Rashawn brothers, and then Sunday getting up at noon, looking forward to a Packers game, knowing and thinking they were going to win, and then always being disappointed at the end. But still, when the next weekend came around, I was up again Sunday and got excited about a Packers game again. So I experienced the 70s and 80s, the Jerry Tagey years, and Lynn Dickey was good.
So, Chef Ed, after years of being spoiled by great play, do you think the new era of Packer fans, those who are 37 and under, who've only experienced success, do you think they're ready to go back week after week?
I would hope so, but I agree with the previous caller. I have no faith in Jordan Love. I mean, I think you talk about rebuild. I don't think we're rebuild. I think we're looking back at the 70s and 80s again. I think it's going to be a drought for a lot of years again.
Okay. Thank you for the call, Chef Ed. 800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776. Let's get Dave in Milwaukee in here. Dave, welcome to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. Where do you stand in terms of the younger fan being ready if this Packers team does not perform well?
Well, I'm an old guy. I go back to the Lombardi years like Chef Ed. I don't know what the young people, I mean, my son is 34, so I guess I have that as a reference point. And he's a devoted Packer fan like I am. I mean, you got to remember, the Packers are a completely different franchise than the Brewers or the Bucks. The Packers are the history of the NFL. The Super Bowl trophy is named for Lombardi. And even back in the 70s and 80s, the Brewers had their run with Gorman Thomas and those guys. On Sundays, everybody was watching the Packers, and that'll always be the case in Wisconsin. But the thing I'm hearing from a lot of old people, which I think is really wrong, is that the Packers are making a terrible decision discarding this Hall of Fame quarterback and moving on to somebody younger. And all you got to do is go back to what happened at the end of the transition from Lombardi to Bankston to Devine, and what the Packers got to avoid doing is, and they have avoided doing, they've done the right thing here, is getting locked into thinking, gee, we're great. We just need a superstar quarterback. So let's make a big trade. Let's go all in, give away 5 draft picks to get John Hadel, and we're going to win the Super Bowl. And of course that didn't happen. And what happened instead is we had 30 years of at best mediocre football. So the Packers have made the smart move here and realized, Aaron Rodgers is close to the end of his run. We can't go all in anymore. We're basically out of money, out of salary cap room. So it's time to start a new team. And Jordan Love may or may not be the guy. I think he's going to be good, but we'll find out.
And thank you for the call, Dave in Milwaukee. Thank you for the call. You had some good stuff there. Phil Bankston truly is the forgotten man between Dan Devine and Vince Lombardi there. But Josh loved you so much because you were agreeing with him that he let you go far past his normal time cutoff allotment.
Yes. Yeah, first time for everything.
Speaking of fast, though, Road America.
Fast is where Road America is, where vintage racing lives on. Experience the sights, sounds, and smells from historic Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin's Road America. The season kicks off this weekend with the SVRA Vintage Festival weekend, opening the May 19th through 21st weekend. Get your tickets today at roadamerica.com. Again, get your tickets today for this weekend. Kick off the weekend at Road America with vintage racing. There's nothing better than going to different concession stands. I always say, you get to have a lot of fun inside the racetrack, inside the 4 miles, and then you pick a turn. For half the race, I like turn 5. Then I can go over to 6, 7, 8. You can check out the front stretch. There's so many different great places to watch the race. Enjoy it before, during, and after. Road America. Check them out.
800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776. If you're on the line, stay there. If you are not, give us a call. You think that the under 37 Packer fan is going to be ready? Are they prepared mentally for the Packers not being a favorite to win their division year in and year out? It's next. Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
I'm into the moon and the stars and stuff like that. Like if it's a full moon and stuff like that, you gotta make sure you have the moon water. You set the water out.
Moon water?
Yeah, that's what Aaron Rodgers needs, some moon water.
Scalzo and Brust.
For real? Like, is this like a real thing? Or
I'm gonna get you some moon
water.
What's
a real thing, man? It's what? Do you believe it's real? Then it's real.
I don't know. Is there science to prove that the water's better?
Hey, the moon does affect the water.
Science to prove anything.
How do you think you get wet?
Scalzo and Brust. Available anywhere you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
Thank you for the call.
A broken down semi stuck on 894 eastbound in the left shoulder, so watch for the big delays back through the Hale interchange all the way up to about Greenfield on southbound 894. We've also got some backups on 41 southbound from Silver Spring down past Capitol Drive. And then on eastbound 94, watch for the delays from about 76th Street through the Stadium interchange. Traffic is brought to you by James Imaging Systems, your local document imaging partner. Visit jamesimaging.com. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, mainly clear, a low of 53. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and warm, slight chance of showers in the evening, a high of 78, but turning much cooler in the afternoon. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lozga, 94.5 ESPN.
Jeff Levering and wife Ashley love their new patio door from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's like having a brand new kitchen. It's so bright, it's so clear. I can see the kids outside playing.
I love the roll screen. The fact that the screen is on the inside, no drafts. It's a game changer.
Get 0% interest for up to 48 months at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and have everything installed in as little as a day. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. Offer ends 5/31/2023.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra. The perfect balance of taste and refreshment and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Even when you think you know what's going on,
I'm just not buying it. Haven't lived in New England for 22 years.
You think a lot of the fair weathers are going to start to...
You can never be too sure.
Yeah, when they stink, they're like, okay, we like the Giants. That's what I did.
Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
You know what I mean?
So this is just convenient theories for Chew.org.
Morning 7 to 9 on 94.5 ESPN and available wherever you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
Hi, it's John Reitz from Great Midwest Bank. And you know, there's more to being a local Wisconsin bank than perfectly pronouncing Oconomowoc or Waukesha. Or is it Waukesha? But rest assured, at Great Midwest Bank, we understand the local community and economy because we're a part of it. At GMB, we provide customized lending products that others just can't offer. Experience a hometown banking difference. Head to greatmidwestbank.com. Great Midwest Bank, your simply local equal housing lender.
Football guy.
Are you cutting me out of the show and talking to Jesse and ignoring me?
Football guy.
We're going to take calls. You're not a fan. This is a fan-related question. This
is going to be optimistic about the team without cheering for the team.
Coming at it from different views.
Go ahead. You guys have a segment. Go right ahead.
What do you got, Jesse?
Hey, Tausch.
Oh, how nice of you to give him airtime.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Weekdays 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN. And available wherever you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
Gabe, where do you think our group should be taking our golf trip next year?
Jason, I don't know. Do you have time to figure it all out and get all the reservations made? I certainly don't.
Not really. I mean, I'm so busy. If I only knew somebody to call that might do all the work for us.
Oh, I know about Wisconsin Golf Trips. Their main business is booking groups from around the world to play all the great courses in our state, but they're now doing outbound trips for groups each year to places like Michigan, Minnesota, and Nevada. Plus, Wisconsin Golf Trips is even booking custom packages for Scotland and Ireland.
Oh, wow. Let's hit them up.
WisconsinGolfTrips.com.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust on 94.5 ESPN. Presented by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it.
Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. He's Ben Brust. I'm Greg Scalzo. Josh DiMaggio, Alex G. You, the Scalzo and Brust family, a war of the youngs versus the olds. Do you think that the fans under 37 who have only experienced success with the Packers are ready if this team does not have hope in the long term? And do you think that the olds who sat through the 70s and 80s and never wavered in their support or passion for the team, are they better fans for having stuck through it? Are they more well-rounded? Do they provide a better perspective? 800-990 ESPN, 800-990-3776. CJ, you're looking at me crazy. I did this on that. I did it. Get ready with the cool button. I did ESPN on National on Saturday, and I was so focused on not reading because we had a rare caller segment there and not doing our number, and I had to do the 888 say ESPN, so it's all messed up. CJ and Madison, welcome to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Mick Ultra.
That was a Ben Brust moment.
I know.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. All right, so I was born in the 70s. I am a fan of the NFL, not any particular team. I honestly feel like the Packers could have won the division last year had they let Aaron Rodgers go with Jordan Love. Everybody complains about Jordan Love, and you are taking the opinion of someone else, and let's use what AI said. We're talking about practice. Practice. Love has taken 1% of the snaps since he's been there. And I will leave you with every other team is getting younger, i.e., Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for the call. I don't know how you could go in and say that Love's the guy, and then say it because if you don't think so, then you're taking someone else's opinion because it's all you've seen is practice. But at the same time, even if you have that opinion, all you're doing is trusting someone else's opinion because all they've done is see practice. Like literally nobody knows how good he's going to be, and the people that do and are most qualified are certainly not going to tell us because it's the Packers coaching staff and the fellow quarterbacks in the room.
AI it was also like a perennial all-star when they were talking about practice. Like if Jordan Love, like it's not comparable. Sorry.
I don't think he was making the Allen Iverson comparison. I think he was just more using it as a throwaway line. What, Josh? What do I do?
Who's the player that you always say is the greatest shooter ever in practice?
Brevin Pretzel. He took over Ben's number 1 for the Badgers. He was supposed to be better than Ben Brust.
Yeah, maybe
taller, bigger. He was at least 6'2".
No, he's 6'3".
Yeah. Like a legit 6'3". So he had 3 inches on Brust. He was supposed to be a better shooter. And
he's balling overseas.
And everyone who was at practice was like, oh, like I remember his freshman year as a true freshman. They're like, dude, he does not miss. And then he would get in a game and again, I have nothing but respect for him. He carved out a really good career at the University of Wisconsin. This is me qualifying something. But even when he first started his career, he just looked different when you would see him on the court in a real game than you saw him in practice. That's all I'll say. 800-990-3776. Dustin in Waukesha. Dustin, welcome to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. What do you got?
Hey, howdy, guys. Thanks for taking my call. So I'm 36. I've only ever known winning, and I'm really excited this year because we didn't know Rodgers. Cool. We didn't know what he was going to be, So let's see it. Let's see what happens, I mean, not concerned. I'm always going to be a Packer fan, all my family's always been. So whatever happens is going to happen. But, let's see what's going to happen. This unpredictability, we don't know what's going to be this year. That's exciting. I think it's,
I agree. If you know that you have a Hall of Fame quarterback going into the football season every year, that gets boring after 30 years.
Who would want that?
Let's switch it up.
Put on Twitter at Scalzo and Brust. Is the unpredictability of the Packers 2023 season exciting?
I do want to make a stance here, and I want to make it clear. I do not in any way want to see the Packers suck at any point, unless we know Jordan Love stinks, and I want to get a high draft pick. Like the sucking thing isn't what I'm looking for here. I'm just looking to move forward.
I was tongue in cheek. I actually understand what Dustin is saying.
Yes.
Is especially these last 10 years with Rodgers, have felt like the same year over and over again. Great quarterback, great regular season. You know what to expect. Bounced in the playoffs. Don't get to the Super Bowl. I can understand the excitement around the unpredictability. But as we've said, it's like leaving a 30-year marriage that you've been happy in to an amazing person that you know that it's unlikely you're ever going to find a person that great. And you're a little bit excited about the unknown. You're a little bit excited about hitting that dating pool again. The question is 2 months after nobody matches you on Tinder and you haven't been on a date and you're eating microwave dinner every night, are you still excited about the unpredictability? Maybe tomorrow the barista at the coffee shop is going to want to go on a date with me. Maybe tomorrow that person's going to match with me on Match.com because I'm guessing that's what the person who is married for 30 years is using as opposed to Tinder, but who knows nowadays? I don't know. Tinder probably makes you sound
I actually
old.
made my dad's online dating profile. I made him sound
But it wasn't Tinder, right?
It wasn't Tinder. It was some sort of website and matched him up, and he wouldn't be married if it wasn't for me.
800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776. Ron in the Key says that last call was dumb. That's like saying going to the bar and being unsure if you'll meet somebody is exciting versus somebody who knows they're going to get it. Yeah, but I actually understand both. That is a little bit of a thrill. The thrill of the unknown. Ron, I hate to say it, but it's kind of why we bet. You bet $100. You know you have that $100. You're hoping to turn into something better.
We're also talking about fandom in a business and it's a little bit different talking about the unknown rush. Sorry, I can't get behind wanting an unknown rush if it means that there's a higher probability that my team's going to suck.
800-990-3776. Let's go to Matt in Franklin. Matt, welcome to Scalzo and Brust, the battle of the olds versus the youngs. Where do you stand?
I'm a young Packers fan. It's been a lot of fun watching them win so much the last 15 years. I'm not ready for them to suck. I just hope that we can put together a good enough team to at least compete for the playoffs every year. I don't understand people that want a top 3 draft pick every year. If we get a top 3 draft pick every year, are we just gonna be great? Probably not. We just suck. So hoping for a competitive football team.
That right there is a prime example of someone who needs a good talk from the 70s and 80s, from the olds, because he says he's not ready to suck, and it's a possibility that they may suck next year.
Well, there is a tad bit, and Josh is going to take offense to this, and that's okay. It's slightly intended to offend you. There is a hint of entitlement based on the fans that are calling in and just that are like, yeah, well, I just want them to have like one bad year and then be really good again. Like there is this expectation that like they're not going to turn into the Texans or the Lions or the Browns or the Jets or any of these teams that have struggled to find consistent success. And I do think that's the entitlement that comes, and nobody should feel blamed or offended for being called entitled, because that entitlement was earned. It's literally all you know as a Packers fan.
It's the first time you've ever been called entitled.
I mean, I'm sure my parents have called
I'm
me
not
that.
calling Josh entitled. I'm calling him an entitled Packers fan. I think that's a distinction.
The
where
entitlement thing doesn't bother me because that's entitlement town is the whole thing that people say on the internet. It doesn't really bother
I didn't even
me.
know that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I reside with the people who believe that you can just turn it around with effortlessly. You just suck once and then you're great again. But Greg, the one thing you left out of that is they don't have the G on their helmet, and that's all that matters.
Woo-hoo! Not according to Aaron Rodgers. It's the people wearing those, G. Josh. We'll see who's right. 800-990-3776. Get 800-990-ESPN. I'll tell you about somebody who earns everything. Somebody who does the work. Somebody who drives the results. Somebody who wins at everything she does. It's Gina Della, and it's the team she's put together at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Trust me, nobody does it better than her. They worked on my own home, put in windows and doors, replaced the whole thing, did a beautiful job, had them at a new place, knocked out some windows, put in these beautiful patio doors, and now I've got my guy Joe Franco coming out again to take a look at some windows, because I'm feeling different climates in my house right now. I'm feeling temperature swings, and it's putting me in some mood swings, quite frankly, Patty. I don't like it. I don't like when I wake up in the morning in the feet are cold. You know, I don't like it when all of a sudden we have a couple nice days and things get hot. No. I want to say goodbye to my drafty windows with stunning new windows and doors. Order today at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Get 0% interest for 4 years, 0% interest for 48 months. But you have to act now. That offer only good through May 31st. Stop by their beautiful showroom in Brookfield or on the Beltline in Madison. Go to PellaWI.com/radio. That's PellaWI.com/radio as well to set your free consultation. The olds and the youngs roll on. Plus, we'll hit some 1 or zeros. It is Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
Use your freaking brain! No!
Scalzo and Brust, available anywhere you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
Southbound on 4394, slowing down from the Marquette all the way down to about the KK River. So give yourself some extra time heading through there. Westbound 94, slowing from 27 through the stadium. Once you get past Hawley Road, it'll be a little bit tight for a little bit, and then it'll open up. You'll be fine all the way through into Waukesha County. The eastbound side is going to be a bit heavy from about 76th Street, so keep that in mind all the way through the stadium. Our earlier problem on 894 eastbound at 76th Street, we had a broken down semi there. That actually has been cleared. However, the delays are still there. We've got backups all the way back around the Hale, all the way up to Greenfield. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, mainly clear, a low of 53. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and warm, a slight chance of showers in the evening, a high of 78, turning much cooler in the afternoon. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
It's ESPN Wisconsin's Greg Scalzo for Smart Spaces. How can Smart Spaces transform your business?
Really looking at the entire space holistically. The environment, the walls, ceilings, lighting, flooring, furniture, technology, along with acoustics.
To conceptualize how the end users are going to interact with the room, from the furniture all the way down to the AV, having that work seamlessly within the environment and often hiding within the furniture.
Let Smart Spaces transform your business today. Visit smartspaceswi.com.
RJ Schenner has several Toshiba copier printers from James Imaging Systems. IT manager Gabe Colasari.
The reason why for James Imaging is their responsiveness, dedication, knowledge of the product, and they always make sure that the customer is taken care of.
The kind of customer service you'd expect from a 100% Wisconsin-owned and managed office technology company. like James Imaging Systems.
We actually have a high-end printing machine on site, so we produce our own catalogs, so we need the support to handle that.
James Imaging Systems, better document imaging technology, better service.
When we got a problem, we're able to call in and get it rectified or corrected without any issues.
Gabe, any advice to other local businesses?
Contact James. they'll take care of you.
James Imaging Systems, reliable document imaging technology, extraordinary local service. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local office technology partner.
Your first night camping alone. The new tent, fully set up. Your bug spray, barely keeping up. But you got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with free overdraft protection transfers. So when you bought all those supplies and lost track of your spending, we had you covered. You got this with free overdraft protection transfers from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
Homer, Tony, living in perfect harmony. Yeah, right.
The Packers make the playoffs. I would be shocked.
Shocked?
Shocked if they made the playoffs.
Like, what else would you equate that to?
I know.
The Packers making the playoffs next year would shock you just as much as the Bucs getting bounced in the first round?
It's pretty close.
That close?
Yeah.
If they made the NFC Championship, I would say that would be an equal shock.
Listen to Homer and Tony weekdays from 2 to 4 on 94.5 ESPN and wherever you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
The NFL schedule is out and Ticket King is here to get you tickets to the green and gold game of your choice. As Wisconsin's largest and most trusted ticket broker, Ticket King has access to all the big games and concerts. Ticket King is your one-stop shop for great seats to any event. You're paying the lowest prices when you order tickets from theticketking.com. Purchase game tickets to witness the start of a new era in Green Bay this fall. Theticketking.com. It's not sold out until the King is sold out. Theticketking.com.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust on 94.5 ESPN. Missed any of the show? Find us on Wisconsin On Demand wherever you get your podcasts. It's free, it's everywhere, and it's for you.
Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra. Ben Brust, Greg Scalzo, you, the Scalzo and Brust family, calling, texting 800-990-3776. Corey in South Milwaukee, right on the cutoff line, right on the, what can we call the Mendoza line here for the Packers? Right on the Mikowski line? I like that. Right on the Mikowski line at 37 years old. Says, I hope.
Could it just be the Favre line? Since that
Could
was
be,
the start?
but like Mikowski line just sounds funnier.
The thing was, he was like pretty good.
Hello?
Yeah.
And actually, I read that wrong. I have no idea how old Corey in South Milwaukee is. He's older than that. He says, I hope the 37 and under fans can relax a bit and continue to be fans. In the 80s and early 90s, I never imagined the success we've seen the last 30 years. No reason to think Love can't continue that. Since A-Rod wasn't great his first year starting, he was quite average at best.
He threw for 4,000 yards in a 16-game season. Seems pretty above average.
You're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Yes, yeah. I think he's referring to the 6-10 record of that season. Joshy, we'll keep talking about the olds versus the youngs, but let's play a little 1 or 0.
Are you a 1 or a 0? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Are you a yes or a no?
There's no such thing as a gray area. Life is binary. It's just a 1 or a 0.
He is Ben Brust. I'm Greg Scalzo. We're your contestants for 1 or 0. Josh Shamaggio is your host. He asks us a question. We say 1 for yes, 0 for no. There is no gray area. Josh, you take it away.
Over the weekend, Christian Yelich hit 3 home runs in 2 games and has been hitting over 300 with 4 home runs in his last 56 at-bats. 1 or 0. The Brewers are World Series contenders if Yelich is back.
Pat on the back to me for saying on Friday they're going to get back on track with the Royals, and then they went ahead and swept them at home.
Yeah, I mean, the answer's a 1 here. He is back. It's no coincidence after Greg Scalzo graced his presence at the Christian Yelich event that Yelly went yard at the exit velo, the launch angle, 440 plus to right. I mean, it was electric. When that ball hit the bat, I was like, that's out of here. It's gone. So it's more than just the statistics. It's seeing him like hit a ball out of the park in ways he hasn't done since his NL MVP season.
Shout out to Yelly. Shout out to Mrs. Yelly. Shout out to our guy Omar for putting the fundraising event together on Thursday night, benefiting youth baseball around the city of Milwaukee. The whole team feels like they're on another level now. Like they went out, they had a night out together. Like there was good vibes all over the place. And of course, he's going to come out and have a monster 2 games against the Kansas City Royals. Brewers back in action against the Cardinals.
6:40 tonight.
6:40 tonight. Getting back into the divisional matchup. Cardinals actually pretty decent out in Boston.
1-0. Christian Yelich will make another All-Star game.
1.
I like your snap 1 there. I'm going to go 1-2, just out of sure. Let's keep putting the good energy in the air. Why not?
On CBS Saturday this weekend, the show featured a segment suggesting that adding insects into our diet could provide benefits for a growing world affected by climate change. 1-0. You're willing to add bugs to your diet.
I saw this story, actually. I'm a 1 here. You're laughing at me.
What are you doing watching CBS
I watch it every Saturday. CBS. I always watch the news. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I would have believed you.
I was trying to get. I was just trying to get
John. You grew up listening
Benny.
to political radio as like a 10-year-old.
More like 13, 14, but
Whatever.
yes. Certainly into high school. 1, I'm curious if Ben could explain how eating insects could ultimately help us battle climate change. Because I'm interested to hear what you think about that.
Dude, I mean,
but I'm a 1. I would definitely
bullying.
add bugs into the diet because, like anything else, like if you really break it down, I don't want to do this for Ben, but if you really break it down in terms of the things that we eat, like we just do it in a way that makes it all taste good. There's a way to make bugs taste good.
Yeah, put a little oil, salt, and pepper. Air fry those things.
Find the right insects, the whole thing. But
we ate some grasshoppers with Jeff Levering the other day. That wasn't so bad.
They're bad.
Why do you think eating bugs have poop anything to do with?
So if I had to guess,
yes,
some circle of life type stuff.
Okay.
We eat some insects.
Yep.
Goes in our body, comes out our body, gets in the earth somehow, and I don't know.
Yeah. So your idea is the food chain, like the old school.
What's the difference between eating something else and having it go through us and then back into the earth?
Nothing.
Okay.
That was
why else?
Am I close?
No. Not in the ballpark.
Like what else do you think?
Not in the ballpark.
Nope.
So we're eating these things, and it's supposed to help things?
Yep.
Because insects are bad? And
no, insects are famously very good and good for the earth. Healthy
so I'm
for the
0 for 2. I don't think I'm going to give this another try.
All right, so
Give me a hint.
So insects are protein, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that insects can be protein, does that give you any hints?
Oh, we don't want to eat all the chickens and cows.
Technically, it's the amount of emissions and carbon that it takes to raise those types of animals.
Particularly,
it takes emissions to slaughter these things that we eat?
Oh my God.
Carbon emissions. The things that are caused to power big factories.
He has no idea that the farting of cows negatively contributes to the climate.
Their fart is that potent?
It's not specifically.
It is literally like talking to a third grader. I mean, your face is like, their farts are that potent.
It is the scale that's the issue. The amount of livestock required.
And then like the condescending, voice from Josh, he adds it all to it.
I love it. Yeah.
According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, self-checkout machines at places like coffee shops, bakeries, airports, and sports stadiums are giving customers the option to leave a tip despite you doing all the work. 1 or 0. You will tip at a self-checkout.
0. I drew the line there at 5-Star Forum, Badgers Marquette. I did all the work, did the whole thing, asked me to tip myself, and I said no, because it wasn't going to tip myself. It was going
Wasn't
to
there
tip.
a person?
Greg's going to say, somebody stocked the bar to keep it cold. And
well, that is the answer, but I would say, I probably will not every time. Like, if I'm going up there 10 times, I'm not tipping every time. But I do think, like, if you're in a position to tip, there are people stocking that and cleaning that and doing all of it. I just do think it depends partially where you're at, because I bet you the people that are doing that work aren't realizing the tip. So I probably won't make a consistent habit out of it, but I agree with Joshy. Your story at Fiserv Forum has changed, because the first time you were handed 2 bottles of soda and you decided not to tip the person in front of you. Are you talking about a different time at Fiserv?
Oh, different time.
Okay.
A couple different.
I'm letting him out of the line.
Yeah.
Just letting it go.
1 or 0.
They're all mixed up in my head.
1 or 0 would be better if we did away with the concept of tipping as a whole.
1.
I actually think 1 as well, if we could figure out the best way to do so. I mean,
the best way to do so is
just
to
make it a part of the bill.
Yeah, and that means that places that ultimately are going to have better service and hire better people, it's going to be more expensive for you to go there. But I do think that that's the better model than leaving it up to the patron, if you will.
Instead of leaving it up to the Ben Brust of the world.
No.
You can just charge more.
No.
He's allowed to say that.
No.
The fact that you didn't tip his girlfriend for as many times, he's forever allowed to hold that over you.
Guys, everyone makes mistakes.
The same mistake over and over and over and over again.
One mistake that I don't make is when I know I need clean, healthy energy, I always go to Water Joe. Water Joe gets it done for me, and it got it done for me today. I had a good morning, and then I had a burrito at lunch, which on a Monday, I was like, putting a little baby in the stomach, I need a little energy. So I went to my good friends at Water Joe, and I grabbed the 85 milligrams of caffeine that is in the water. No off taste. Tastes delicious, just like water. And I just got my Water Joe on. And that's how I got this energy that I have right now, 5:48. In the office at like 7:30 this morning. So I've been here for about 10 and a half hours. So I needed Water Joe to get me through this back half of the day. Water Joe is amazing. You'll love it. Pick it up at any of your favorite local retailers. Water Joe, check it out.
800-990-3776. Again, 800-990-ESPN. The number to get into the show. Olds versus Youngs. It's Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
You're listening to Scalzo and Brust, presented by Michelob Ultra.
76% of people say they wouldn't take relationship advice from Homer.
Yeah, they
Homer,
can all go to hell.
All right.
What is that?
Scalzo and Brust. Available anywhere you get your podcasts with Wisconsin On Demand.
Ben Brust here for Cedar Ridge Distillery, because they have the original 86 bourbon, the best-selling bourbon in Iowa, right here, making a home in Wisconsin. The quintessential is the best single malt you're going to find between those two bourbons. The single malt, it's amazing everything they're able to offer you here in the state of Wisconsin. Hey, there's more. The Scalzo and Brust Private Barrel Bourbon and Rye Whiskeys available for you at Discount Liquor in Waukesha and Milwaukee. Check out Cedar Ridge at cedarridgedistillery.com. And when you see a bottle, grab it. And thanks, Scalzo and Brust.